My name is Evie Nevin. I'm the Social Democrats candidate for the Clonakilty-Skibbereen area in the local elections coming up. I am living in Clonakilty for the last 15 years with my husband and my 2 children, and I decided to run for election because I believe that people with disabilities need to be at the table when it comes to law and policy making, and especially on a local level. Well, considering 13.5% of the population live with a disability, and that equates to 11,000 people in Cork Southwest living with a disability, there is a lot to be done to decrease social isolation and to promote independence, and that's something that's very important to me as somebody with a disability and with 2 children that have inherited the condition that I have as well, that I want to make sure that they don't feel like an afterthought in society the way I have. And I feel when we look after the most vulnerable in society, everybody benefits, because disability does not discriminate. It can happen to anybody and any time through accident or injury. On a practical level, there's a lot of things that needs to be fixed and needs to be addressed. For example, the clutter on our footpaths, uneven footpaths, the fact that a lot of our shops are inaccessible. A lot of the time that can't be helped with old buildings and things like that, and small buildings, but there could be a lot, even simply automatic doors in our post offices, our banks, public services, etc. They're all very, there's a lot of stuff that can be done, and it's very, very achievable, but we need somebody like I said, at the table. People with disabilities, we know what we need, and for so long we've been talked about rather than being spoken to about what we need, and there's a lot of assumptions about what needs to be done, but we need to be there to have our voice and to let people know exactly what needs to be addressed. I think there's a lot of things that our county council can do to help, for example, biodiversity, planting more trees, maybe stop cutting public areas, and introduce wildflower areas, which would go a long way in reducing cost. But trees, I think, are being cut down at an extraordinary rate here in West Cork, and it's something that people are bringing up at the doors quite a bit. They're very concerned about climate change and the environment, and it's great to see that there's this movement, particularly with the proposed plastics factory in Skibbereen. It's something I'm very passionate about, and we're protecting West Cork and the industries that do depend on a thriving environment. Housing is something that's very important to me, and a lot of people think that homeless issues are simply city issues, but unfortunately it is creeping down here in West Cork. We have a serious lack of private housing to rent. We have a serious lack of council housing available. There's been proposed council estates since 2015. They haven't been built yet. I'm actually inundated with the amount of phone calls from people saying that they're worried about homelessness, or they have nowhere to go, or they're trying to get grants for making their homes accessible and things like that. And it's really sad, actually, especially when you see the amount of empty houses here in West Cork that are sitting idle, and it's something that our council can absolutely address. In addition to building, that we could compulsory purchase a lot of these houses here in West Cork that are just sitting empty, and we're talking 11,000 empty homes at any given time here in Cork Southwest. It's incredibly important that we go out and we vote on May 24th. I think now is the time where people can send a message to our government to say that we're not going to just sit idly back and let our country continue the way it's going, and the chaos that's happening at the moment, it needs to end. So I implore people to please go out and vote on May 24th, and if you give me your number 1, I'd be absolutely delighted, and I will do everything I can for the people of West Cork.